Welcome everybody to today's program, our BusinessWorks program, a continuation of our Small Business Week that is presented by Novant Health and Sam's Club in Mooresville as our supporting sponsor. And David, I'm going to put you on the spot. Didn't tell you it was coming, but you want to have a welcome for those joining us today?
Sure. Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited to hear Dr. Lexi talk, and this is just a great week for Small Business Week up here at Lake Norman. The whole Lake Norman business community really embraces this, and this should be a great use of your time. Thank you for being a chamber member.
We had a fantastic program last night, the Small Business Event of the Week at WSIC Studios, and today we have the BusinessWorks, and then tonight, this evening, 5:30, we have Freedom Boat Club. We're going to be having our business after hours, and then tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we will have our small business reception where we honor the outstanding small business in Cornelius, Davidson, Huntersville, and Mooresville. But today we're going to talk about, we're have a professional development seminar on resilience. And I got to tell you, when I reached out to Lexi, it was about, I guess it may have been an earlier part of this year or maybe last year that you spoke at WINS.
Yes.
And Sylvia came back to the Chamber of Commerce and was talking about the program that you gave about how we all in March of 2020, we had the stay-at-home order. And we had Mecklenburg County, which reacted first before North Carolina and said that non-essential businesses can't operate. And we were getting a flurry of phone calls into the Chamber of Commerce asking, am I an essential business? And from the Chamber of Commerce perspective, every business is essential. But as we went into that in March and April and May and June, where we're not meeting with our clients, and many of us weren't on the Zoom technology yet, and that certainly impacted your particular business. But Sylvia heard your presentation. She came back and she said, we made a difference. We made a difference with a particular business. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from you this morning and how our businesses can be resilient, how they can overcome challenges. One of the things that we heard last night when we were talking from Meredith is one of the principles is you have to anticipate change. And as much as we don't want to see another pandemic like that in our lifetime, we can absolutely be assured there's going to be something coming down the path that is going to be something we're all going to have to adjust to and be used to. So we have to anticipate that change. But Lexi, I'm going to turn the show over to you,
Sure.
And then let me know when you want me to put up the PowerPoint.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, you can go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint since, it is the presentation and here I am. I've got the floor. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much, Bill Russell and the Chamber of Commerce for all that you do in the community and giving me this opportunity to share my story. And so thank you to those who are showing up on the call online. And then if you can just give me a nice thumbs up on your Zoom screen, and so that, of course, hang on a minute, I got to see you. I got to see those thumbs up. Give us a second. Oh, do we assume that we've got thumbs up on that?
I guess we got thumbs up because
okay. All right. That's awesome. No worries. All right. So thank you again for being on the call virtually, and then those in person, thank you also for showing up. So, what makes a great story? And, a great story has trials and tribulations, and what makes a really great hero?
Prices, and we're all hoping that inflation calms down in the back half of the year, especially as it relates to gas prices.
someone, if you can just
that earnings themselves are elevated. The earners, drivers who drive more than 20 hours on a 5-1.
Okay.
All right. Now, do you want me to be in control of PowerPoint, or would you like?
I'll go ahead and change for you.
Okay, if you want to just go back to the first slide, please. First slide. There we go. There we go. Okay. So I wanted to choose this particular picture in regards to my presentation today about better health and better business, but then also creating resilient leaders. And it's because we really need each other. And when you get to a point in your life where you take all the monetary things away, all of your home, your car, not your clothes, but let's just say you just take all the things away, what are you left with? Does anybody know? people.
Mm.
It's the people, it's your family, it's people that you put yourself submerged in, who's around you. I had this envision in my mind when I was going to a food bank in the last 2 years. That's right. You would never know this because I'm a resilient leader, but I had this tent and I'm like, I'm not getting rid of this tent because I know that there might come a time where I need that. But then I realized if I stood on a corner with my tent, there's no way I would end up under a bridge because so many people were in my life. And this was a really small moment in time, but when you are 10 years as a clinician, you can imagine this being an extremely humbling moment, extremely humbling. And no one would know because when you're in a time of struggle, you don't want people to know. And yesterday I was on a drive to a different networking meeting and I was hearing on the radio, they were talking about the violence on stage. So there was this event and, you know, humans are behaving very strangely right now. You are in a business, you're dealing with people. I'm sure you're observing that in your own businesses. In service, people may have shorter fuses these days. And so the thing that on the radio station, they mentioned us all being at a breaking point, but not talking about it. So I'm going to talk about the breaking point. And I'm going to talk about the ugly stuff, the trials and the tribulations that we don't really want to share. Because it's in these times of vulnerability and it's how we get out of those times of vulnerability and it's how we're dealing with these trials and tribulations in the moment that's what makes you the hero of your own story. That's what builds resilience and that's what creates a healthy leader. And so today's presentation is all about the tools that I brought to the table to not fall apart and not only not fall apart, but get through a really challenging time better, healthier, and far more resilient. So next slide. I learned through the Chamber of Commerce, leadership through crisis, the definition of crisis, which is an intense time of difficulty requiring a decision. And that will be the turning point. What you decide to do with your time today, tomorrow, will impact how your body and how your whole psyche will react and respond to the next challenge. But crisis, my goodness, is God's classroom, and boy, was I learning. So let's take it to the next slide. So my story begins with me getting sick, and this is my first semester in college. I'm 17 going on 18 and bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. And I get some random weird things going on. I go into the doctor, of course. I'm this one small percentage that always tests negative. And I was prescribed the wrong medication and then this. So the first picture actually looked really, really good, but this is a picture of someone who's healing from Stevens-Johnson syndrome, which is an adverse drug reaction. And mom finds this angel and I go to this angel because I'm like, I don't care what it is. I just want to get better. So I had this attitude at 18 years old, I will do anything to get better. And I don't care what it is, no matter how strange it is. And it was part of energetic medicine, don't have time to get into that. But you tell an 18-year-old, don't touch electronics like computers, cell phones, televisions. You're gonna go, you're gonna sit under this random spotlight and you're gonna take 7 drops of this water. And trust me, you'll get better. Okay, sounds like a good idea. Let's do it. So 2 weeks later, that's the middle picture there. I am so much better. And then from there, that is what led me to naturopathic medicine. So the journey begins me as a healer. So this is my first crisis, and it's determining the kind of healer I'm going to become. Because as business owners, they define success as not as something you're seeking. Success happens by the person you are becoming. So I became this awesome, another bright-eyed, bushy-tailed doctor ready to go. And I moved to the beautiful Carolina blue skies of North Carolina, set up my shop, and here we are. So now it's 2018, and I am in one of the most busiest times in my practice. Things are going amazing. And it's one of the first lessons I learned in business on planning for success, because I didn't really plan for success. I'm a gun-ho doctor helping people out, doing my thing. And I realized I had a self-maximum, limitation in terms of how many people I was able to physically see in a day. And so here I am, this business owner, I'm really taking it off, as far as off the ground, but I'm not hiring anyone. And so this was my first acknowledgement of how your health and how your business integrate. And this is going to be the first challenge of mine, because I'm starting to feel the stress of spinning plates, burning yourself to the ground, and I don't have time for X, Y, and Z. How many times do you say, I don't have time to exercise because I'm so busy doing these other things? I don't have time to cook. I don't have time to grocery shop. I don't have time to pray and to meditate because I'm so busy. And that's what was happening to me. And I was starting to feel it physically. I was feeling it emotionally. I was feeling it spiritually, and it was directly impacting my patient care. Now, okay, patients, they love me, but I was feeling it. I was not becoming my best person and my best clinical self to the people who really need me the most. And so what I ended up doing was thinking, well, gee, what's the point of being a business owner and an entrepreneur and having all this control over our schedule? Because that's what we like to do, is have freedom, right? If our lives are controlling our schedule. So that was my first major lesson, was you have to take control over how you spend your time, and you will make time for what's important. So your spiritual journey, if that's what's most important to you, are you making time for that? Are you setting aside time for your church and your community? Are you setting time for prayer, for reading your personal development books, to do a journal, a meditation? Are you making time? Is that important to you? And is it important to you to get up and move? So that's what it was for me, is I had to get up and move, because I was sitting to prep for patients, see the patient, chart, admin, marketing, and all that. Of course, marketing is blogging, right? And your Facebook, and you set up your camera, but I was stagnant. And stagnant means death. When you're stopping, your heart stops, you're done. When your nervous system stops, that's a coma, you're done. Stagnation equals death. So if you want to live your life on a day-to-day basis for your maximum health and to be a better business and a better leader, you got to get up and you got to move. And movement also requires showing up, making time for things like the Chamber of Commerce. So let's go to the next slide. So here I am, this happy-go-lucky doctor, burning out, and I decide, you know what, I'm going to change my schedule. I'm going to move some things around, and I'm going to commit. This is my time to start taking care of me. And it was non-negotiable. And I started to go to the Lake Norman YMCA, and that was when I became a triathlete. This didn't happen overnight, but I committed. And you would get the phone calls. Oh, Dr. Lexi, I can only come in at 11:30 to 12. Thanks for playing, because that was my non-negotiable time to get to the YMCA, to go in for my 30-minute HIIT class, and get out, get ready, and start my patients at 1:30. That's how much of a non-negotiable it was. And let me tell you, it changed everything. I started to move. I started to feel better. I was getting energy, and all the people in the afternoon, my ability to be a better clinician, my ability to manage and deal with difficult people or difficult cases, stress, all of that significantly improved. Productivity, attitude towards my business and my life completely changed. And I started to submerge myself in the chamber, in the Rotary, into these lovely triathlon communities of people. They're amazing, ordinary people doing these extraordinary things, and they challenge you to be better all the time. And so going back to that first slide, when things get hard, it's the people. So I had already in place movement. I was learning how to make time for myself. I was already a naturopath, so I was feeding my body well. And I had the people, because you're going to see that next little arrow there, the pandemic. So what ends up happening is, in this great awakening of Dr. Lexi Lain, I ended up not fitting with my partner in life. 14-year relationship ended. And I moved out 2 weeks before shelter in place hit. So before shelter in place hit, plugged into the community, and I'm now starting to grieve living alone and what that felt like. And so I'm grieving the loss of my home, my garden, my kitties, my connection with my neighbors, and then damn, pandemic hits, shelter in place happens. Then what? The business goes boom, quiet. because we're all in our own crisis, going, what do we do? And, you know, my phone was quiet, but it wasn't quiet. It was a very strange thing because people weren't really calling to make appointments per se, but they were like, what do we do to take care of ourselves? But there was this moment of silence because we're all kind of like, what? You know, what's going on? So that's when the Chamber of Commerce started the Leadership Through Crisis. And I thought, well, hell, I'm in crisis. I'm in big crisis. You know, I'm getting hit personally, professionally, and let's just throw spiritually out on that because I am just in total shambles. So here's a moment, an opportunity, a massive resource, Leadership Through Crisis. So life is going to show up for you in resources, doors are going to open up. The Chamber offers so many opportunities for you to grow and be a better business owner and a better person, but you have to show up. So number one, make time. Number two, show up, find your resources. And that's what I did. And as I'm plugging into this Leadership Through Crisis, I meet Dan Houston. And Dan Houston and Melanie Houston, they are beautiful people and we are now long-term friends. And through that process, I'm going to need all the tools and all the skills of building myself as a leader to get through what was going to come in 2020, and not only 2020, 2021, and even into 2022, and whatever is coming down the road. But I know that whatever I just persevered through, I can get through anything. But it requires your community because there's going to be a moment in time where you're going to need to rely on a Bill Russell, and you're going to need to rely on a David Keith, and you're going to need to rely on a Rotary, or you're going to need to rely on the sources that your community provides for you to get you through a difficult time. And that's what starts to build resilience. And out of my little blue shirt comes the new Dr. Lexi in the pink and black. Next slide. So, resilience. My mascot is the Black Knight off of Monty Python, the Holy Grail. I love this dude. He is so freaking awesome. He's got blood squirting out everywhere and limbs are flailing. And he's like, come on, you know, I'm not dead yet. You know, it's just a flesh wound. I got this. And, you know, and then boom, another arm goes off. And that's exactly how I felt in 2020 and leading into even 2021. Carnage everywhere. But that character, the Black Knight, he's still standing. And he says, come back. I'll bite you with my teeth. Yeah. And the thing is, it's like, man, this dude is resilient. You know, nothing's going to knock this guy down. And he's becoming creative. What resources do I have to keep fighting and stick in the game? It was his teeth. What resources do you have? You have to maybe think outside the box, but you are never without resources. And there's always something else you can do. So resilience by definition is the ability to bounce back to the form or the structure that it was once before. But next slide, I'm going to argue with this definition and say it's not about bouncing back to the original state. Because let's just ask ourselves, in 2019 and 2018, were you really at your optimal? Even before shelter in place happened, January and February of 2020, were things optimal? And if they weren't, then resilience, I believe, is not about bouncing back, because we're all about bettering ourselves, making more money, having more time, but becoming better. Our business is growing. We're all about personal growth, professional growth. So if we're about growth, I believe resilience is not about just bouncing back. It's about bouncing forward in a better version of yourself. Next slide. So what is inaction costing you? And are you ready to invest in you? And I want to ask you, when is there a time where your health directly impacted your business? Now I'll give you an easy example. Let's just say you did get COVID, or let's just say you do get the flu, or let's say that you are dealing with a chronic disease, chronic fatigue, or something worse, autoimmunities. How is your health impacting your business? Because your success in your business and the kind of leader you're going to be, or that you already are, is a reflection of what's happening internal. And when I work with people about skin and things that are happening on the external shell, It's all happening internal. So as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, it's a reflection of you. And that goes to the quote on success happens by the person you are becoming. And we're always working on ourselves. We're never going to be at our peak, really, because we want to continue to go higher and higher and raise the bar, reach, have those big freaking dreams and big goals, right? So are you ready to invest in you, and how? Next slide. This is one way. So out of the pandemic and out of the 2021, I've taken the Summit Vitality brand and I have created this course and this program. So you'll notice in my bio is that I'm building an online course because I want to teach you how to be better and how to be stronger, how to build resilience. And it does start with mindset. And that mindset of, oh, I don't have time. But really, you have to make it. You really do, because we are so busy. Our to-do list is endless, and nothing is ever going to be completely finished, right? So let's make time. Change the mindset. Movement gets you to move. As far as fueling, fuel can be taken in any interpretation. How are you fueling your soul? How are you fueling your business? How are you fueling your life and you as a person, your family? Fuel can be interpreted in many ways. And in stress management, because let me tell you, I probably was a massive bear in multiple moments, in 2020 and 2021. Oh yes, I'm a prickly pear. But having these tools and skills to really manage your stress and anxiety and these breaking points of what do you do? How do you manage this? In those skill sets, there's, again, lots of resources like breathing. Do not underestimate the power of breath. The fact that you're being able to inhale oxygen right now, that is life. The power of breath, you're alive today. And your life means that you're not through. And you're here to do something important. You have a problem to solve, and you've got needs to meet, and the people need you. Your employees need you, your family needs you, and you need you. And so the power of breath, I can't speak to it more than I am now. I mean, it's just, it is so crucial. And that's how you can begin to shift the fight or flight, oh my God, to, I'm not dead yet. It's just a flesh wound. You can keep on going. That's right. Next slide, please. So I've also designed a Getting Your Spark Back. So I've used this acronym for you must see where you're going, what you are trying to build. And not only that, what kind of goals do you have in your health? And in the people, I can't talk about that enough. The Chamber of Commerce has been a huge resource for me. And so has Rotary, and so has my triathlon community, and so has so many other communities that I have and I've created within myself. And okay, yeah, hyper busy. I just did this like scoring card and I'm like 10 out of 10 in community and connection and people. And that's awesome. Okay, so I'm hitting on some other things I need to work on, but we're constantly having to evaluate. But putting practices into place on a daily basis, wellness is a daily practice. Your business requires daily effort. You got to work in your business and on your business, right? So better health, better business, and a better you, and a stronger, more resilient leader that you'll become. And attitude is everything. So like our Black Knight of, I can do this, and whatever you throw at me, that makes the world of difference in taking action. Resources, I've talked about that. The hard one is self-responsibility. And that one is one that, that's where the prickly self comes out. I get a little flary, but then I'm like, okay, it is a Lexi problem. All right, I'll go fix it. Self-responsibility is one of the hardest pills to swallow. And I will say that, again, if you have control over your calendar, what are you doing about it? If results don't lie, and that also is in your health as well. Now, I understand genetics and there's all these other variables, but genetics, pretend like it's poker. You're dealt a certain hand of cards. You get to decide how you play those cards out. So genetics, maybe you can't change, but that doesn't give you the out of jail free card to go and do whatever you want with your health. You know, you still have to take care of yourself, even though your genetics are playing into it. And then knowledge and kindness, be kind to yourself. So having grace, the fact that I did go to a food bank, you know, a couple of times, you know, that is so humbling. And then I got thinking, you know, the kindness of the people are so good, and you don't have to look very far. You know, if you're sitting in front of the television and seeing a terrible, scary world, and that's true, there is a lot of scary and bad, but there's a lot of good too. And you can't have darkness without light, and you can't have light without darkness. And just recently we celebrated Easter. You can't have the celebration of Easter without the ugly Good Friday. I don't know why we call it Good Friday, because it's so ugly. But the ugly is what brings us to the light. It's the ugly that makes us stronger. And it's the ugly that really brings us to celebration. And that's the chrysalis, that's the butterfly, the transformation. We have to go through it, not suppress it, not hide from it. You gotta face it, self-responsibility, and use your resources and lean on your people, get that attitude corrected. Even if you have a bad day, you know, have a bad day, bad moment, but don't get stuck in it. Move, get out of it, move towards positivity. And I'll tell you, that's where the people come in too. Because if you're submerged with like happy, positive people, it's really hard to be kind of grumptastic. And I definitely didn't want to be an energy drainer, because I was around pretty cool people and I didn't want to lose them because I wasn't a grumptastic, grumpy, bad mood, you know, put whatever adjective you want. We don't want to be like that. We don't want to be around people like that. So don't, right? Okay, next slide. So if you want to get your spark back, you want to build resilience, and you want to take action, you've got one of three choices. A, you can keep doing what you're doing. And if you decide to do that, if you have no change at all, you're like, okay, I'll take what you said and I'll think about it. If you change nothing today in your health or in your business, what will that look like in 5 years from now? Do you like what you see? So if you don't, then I would advise option B or C. B is you take small steps, you're a do-it-yourselfer, you go learn. Fine, that's awesome. I celebrate you. That's empowerment. That's education. And then C is about having the mentor and the coach and the resources and your community. Do not do it alone. If you try to do it alone, I'll tell you, and I tried, that was 2021. I holed up, I hunkered down, and that was when things got really kind of not great. And I realized it. I'm like, wow, the power of a coach, the power of community. I got to get back out in it. So don't hole up and, you know, be quiet. Now there is a time and space for reflection and prayer and self, like your alone time. That's fine. But get out in your community, submerge yourself with people, and definitely hire a coach or a clinician or somebody who can help you navigate these waters, because they're turbulent. And the Google is very confusing, and there's a lot of junk out there. And so my job is to keep you grounded. Chamber's Commerce job, to keep you grounded as a business and as a leader and help you to get better. As a clinician and a coach, I'm helping you to get better in your health and in your life. So next slide. So one thing you can do, and one thing I've created, is a weekend retreat. And this is going to be out in Lindenville Gorge. It's all inclusive. If you're curious about it, that QR code will take you right there. It's July 14 through 17. And we're just going to pour into you personal development, really getting some health goals in place and coming up with a plan of action. And this is a weekend where you're submerging yourself in nature. It really is a time to get away. And these smartwatches, they're coming off, because we gotta disconnect for a moment and take a moment out and have a timeout to say, we need to reflect and go inward and really figure out how to connect the heart back with the mind and shut all the distractions out, because there's a lot of them. And that's how you begin to create resilience, is getting some time for reflection, reevaluating your why, getting yourself refocused, so that you can get back into the distractions and go, I don't hear you because I'm so laser focused in what I'm going to do. So that's one option. And then the next option, if you can go to the following slide there, is that if you are curious about this summit, 90-day peak resilience and making yourself an awesome, better version of you, you can click on that QR code and that will take you to a Calendly And that will be a discovery call. We can have a 30-minute conversation figuring out what those goals are for you and what those next steps are and what they can look like, and just discussing some options so that you're not doing it alone and we can get you connected. And then final slide is, this is one of my favorite quotes about change. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, not on looking backwards. Let's work on building the new. And part of building the new is in taking these tools of resilience, which is fueling your body, fueling your mind, fueling your soul, getting yourself surrounded by people who are going to support you and grow you so that you can maintain a focus and a trajectory that's in forward motion and get there fast. All right, I am Dr. Lexi, and thank you so much for your time today, and I hope this was fruitful for you.
Do we have any questions of Lexi, virtually or in person?
I do have a question because
Yes.
because I've heard this story a few different times from Bill during the pandemic
Yes,
and during the stressful times that you were going through.
yes,
You were unclear of how to proceed. You were in need of some help and some guidance.
yes.
And what did the Chamber of Commerce offer you that helped you in your journey to keep your business alive?
Yes, okay. So the first thing that they offered was the leadership through crisis. That was first and foremost. And, and then Bill, you would always send out these resources on, here's the PPP loan resource, here's, this motivational not interview, but you would always just send out some words of encouragement. So that was number one. And then number two, there were always resources on better business building. So there would be Zoom calls on, getting clear on your purpose, getting clear on your why. There were lots of different calls and things that you would bring in specialists. And the thing was, is you just had to show up, and it was all free. And so it was about not only here's the chamber that you can lean on to, get through a rather difficult time. And you guys provided the resources to get the PPP loan and, and how to deal with the taxes. You even had a financial advisor come on board when tax season came around on how do we manage the PPP loan and that part. So it was an ongoing learning in business and marketing differently. You gave us resources in the financial piece. You gave us resources in personal development, and all of that was needed to persevere through and ride out a really challenging time. Yeah. Any other questions?
Anybody online with a question? Well, Lexi, we appreciate you taking time today to share with us, and we appreciate everybody joining us online. And again, I encourage you to go to the Chamber's website. There are those resources you just talked about, but we still have a lot of activities left in this week, and I urge you to take part in it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Excellent job.